Nate Diaz just completely snapped at Daniel Cormier and Charles Oliveira during a recent appearance on Oven. The interview turned explosive when Nate unloaded on DC after the former two-division champion took shots at his overall record and fighting career. Diaz fired back with a string of insults, accusing Cormier of being bitter and holding grudges. Nate made it crystal clear that even though DC held gold in 2 weight classes, he was never in the same financial conversation. Diaz argued he was pulling in bigger paychecks during his peak years than Cormier ever saw during his championship run, and that jealousy is exactly what's driving the criticism. And Nate didn't stop at DC. He turned his sights on Charles Oliveira too, threatening to beat him up and pointing out that fighters he's already handled have gone on to defeat Oliveira. He also took issue with Charles carrying around his BMF belt following Oliveira's recent victory over Max Holloway. The outburst has put Nate firmly back in the headlines as he gears up for his high-profile clash with Mike Perry on the MVP Netflix card. It also reignites the ongoing debate about fighter pay and the divide between those still competing inside the UFC and those who've moved on. Let's roll the clip.
You're a bitch. Well, what the fuck happened in your career then? Why are you an analyst now, Mr. Know-It-All? Talking about negative about what I should have done when I made more money than you ever made in your whole career at any fight, Mr. Champion. Those are the kind of motherfuckers who need their asses beat. Shit annoys the fuck out of me. This dude's boring as shit. I've never seen a single DC fight in my career, except for when I was on the same card as him one time, and he was picking up the dude and walking around like he just owned him, like he was hella tight. And then I looked back at the screen, and he was knocked out on his ass. That's the only DC fight I ever saw. And he wanted to talk about what I should do and how I'm not a good fighter. And I'm like, are you mad because you were the champion? And when I was nowhere near champion, I got paid way more money than you. That's a fucking bitter little bitch who's analyzing fights. You're a great wrestler, DC. You can't fight for shit. You're a fucking big old pussy. Remember he cried? Hey, he always got Nate Diaz's record sucks. I'm like, you cried.
Jon Anik is stepping right into the chaos surrounding Khamzat Chimaev versus Sean Strickland at UFC 328, and he's loving every bit of it. With reports swirling about the two getting physical, Strickland allegedly being armed, and a string of heated incidents in the lead-up, Anik gave a brutally candid take on the situation. He said he genuinely hopes Fight Week spirals into full chaos. According to Anik, the more heated both fighters get, the better, because that's precisely the kind of energy the UFC thrives on and what the fan base craves. He even joked that his dream scenario is being the man standing between Sean and Khamzat during the face-off, saying he'd welcome every second of that tension. When it comes to the actual fight, Anik believes Strickland is a legitimate threat to the champion. He highlighted Sean's deep experience, iron mindset, and composure under fire as qualities that could make this a far tougher night for Chimaev than people are giving him credit for. With UFC 328 closing in fast, the build-up is already delivering the drama. Let's roll the clip.
When you have two fighters that hate each other as much as Khamzat and Sean, and also a guy like Sean who's willing to go at it with someone in the crowd, what's going on through your mind? Like, are you preparing for that differently to, say, a normal?
Well, you always have to be prepared. And I don't know, I'm hoping you're kind of manifesting this thing in somehow, some way. Dana White's too busy, and on a Thursday in Brick City, Newark, New Jersey, I find myself somehow, some way between Khamzat Chimaev and Sean Strickland. I want those problems. Those are the problems I want, Dennis. So hopefully I find myself in that very setting as opposed to just watching on my computer banging keys back in my room. But I don't necessarily overthink that. I just get excited for the possibility of chaos and bottles being thrown at my head and everything else. I'm looking for it. Well, the key is maybe not a lot of those things, to not really overthink what he's going to do during fight week. Just be who you are.
Islam Makhachev just dropped a very deliberate hint on social media. The welterweight champion commented a phone call emoji under a recent photo featuring Ilia Topuria and Michael Morales together. Most people in the MMA world are reading this as a subtle but unmistakable signal that Morales is next in line for a title shot. The post appears to line up with behind-the-scenes reports that have been circulating in recent weeks. It also suggests that Morales has jumped ahead of Ian Machado Gary in the title queue, despite Gary's strong recent run and very vocal campaign to land the fight. What makes this post carry extra weight is that Makhachev almost never interacts on social media. When he does put something out, the MMA community treats it as a calculated message, and right now, the widely held interpretation is that the UFC has given Islam the green light on Morales. Michael himself has been hinting that a contract is already signed, while Gary has reportedly been training specifically for this matchup in Georgia. This development is only going to add more fuel to the fire in the welterweight division. Michael Morales is not shying away from the spotlight. In a recent interview with Spanish journalist Alvaro Culmino, the unbeaten welterweight contender went straight at Islam Makhachev, saying he's been actively chasing the fight and is ready to take it on short notice if needed. Morales pushed back on suggestions that there have been excuses to dodge the matchup, making it clear he has zero reservations. He went further, stating flat out that he believes he can knock Islam out. And he didn't frame it as trash talk. Morales explained that finishing fights is just what he does naturally, and that he's already picturing that exact outcome in his mind. He then laid out his long-term blueprint: win the welterweight title, move up to middleweight, and become a double champion. He boldly put 2026 as the year he makes that happen. With Morales seemingly leapfrogging Ian Garry for the next title shot, this interview paints the picture of a fighter who isn't waiting for an invitation. The young Ecuadorian is demanding his opportunity and is convinced he's not just the man to dethrone the pound-for-pound king, but also the one who can go up a weight class and bring home a second belt. Let's roll the clip.
And what's coming? Tell us. How do you think the fight will go? Because if there's one good thing about you, it is that apart from your heavy hand, you're also huge for the division. You're very big, and you have wrestling, which is where we believe, right, that Islam could take the fight.
Yes, I only had the chance to show my wrestling on the Contender Series, and, well, I've changed my wrestling a lot since then. I look very good, and as I said earlier, Islam has done a very good job. He won 2 titles in the UFC, which is something that very few have done, and he's a 100% well-rounded fighter. Anyone who watches his fights knows that his main strength is wrestling, but I'd like to say that I've also prepared very well. I haven't had too much wrestling in the cage, but I also try not to rely on it or show everything inside the octagon if it's not needed, so I don't give away my full game, because otherwise they discover all your know his game, but he doesn't know mine. I will knock him out, and I'm not saying that because I'm cocky or anything. It's just the knockouts come to me naturally. That's what I do. And then I plan on moving up a weight and capturing another belt.
Arman Tsarukyan got the MMA world going for a moment on April 1st. He posted an edited White House card poster, placing himself in the main event against Ilia Topuria, captioning it with the line about it being his lucky day and wishing Justin a speedy recovery. For a brief window, it looked like it could be legitimate breaking news, but it quickly became obvious this was nothing more than an April Fool's prank. No fighters, no coaches, and no official UFC accounts put out anything to back it up, and the promotion has made zero announcements about any changes to the card. Justin Gaethje is still set to face Topuria as originally scheduled. It was a predictable April Fool's move from Tsarukyan, but it still managed to get the entire MMA community buzzing for a few hours. Meanwhile, Ilia Topuria has already updated his Instagram bio to 18-0, something he's done before each of his recent fights, a signature show of unwavering self-belief heading into fight night. That's it from MMA Time. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for daily MMA updates,